Colonel, when you learned of Santiago's letter to the NIS, you had a meeting with your two senior officers. Is that right?
Yes.
Platoon Commander Lieutenant Jonathan Kendrick and Executive Officer Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Markinson.
Yes.
And at present, Colonel Markinson is dead. Is that right?
Objection. I'd like to know just what the defense counsel is implying.
I'm implying simply that at present, Colonel Markinson is not alive.
Surely Colonel Jessup doesn't need to appear in this courtroom to confirm that information.
I just wasn't sure if the witnesses were aware that 2 days ago, the Colonel took his own life with a .45 caliber pistol.
The witness is aware, the court is aware, and now the court members are aware. We thank you for bringing this to our attention. Move on, Lieutenant.
Yes, sir. Colonel, in this meeting you gave Lieutenant Kendrick an order. Is that right?
I told Kendrick to tell his men that Santiago wasn't to be touched.
And did you give an order to Colonel Markinson as well?
I ordered Markinson to have Santiago transferred off the base immediately.
Why?
I felt his life might be in danger once word of the letter got out.
Grave danger?
Is there another kind?
Colonel, we have the transfer order that you and Colonel Markinson co-signed, ordering Santiago be on a flight leaving Guantanamo at 6 the next morning. Is that the first flight off the base?
The 0600 was the first flight off the base.
You flew to Washington early this morning, is that right?
Yes.
I noticed you're wearing your Class A dress uniform for your appearance in court today.
As are you, Lieutenant.
Did you wear that uniform on the plane, Colonel?
I wore utilities on the plane.
You brought your dress uniform with you.
Yes.
Toothbrush, shaving kit, change of underwear.
Your Honor!
Is the Colonel's underwear a matter of national security?
Gentlemen, you better get somewhere fast with this, Lieutenant.
Yes, sir. Colonel?
I brought a change of clothes and some personal items.
Thank you. After Dawson and Downey's arrest on the night of the 6th, Santiago's barracks room was sealed off, and its contents inventoried. 4 pairs of camouflage pants, 3 long-sleeve khaki shirts, 3 pairs of boots, 4 pairs of green socks, 3 green t-shirts.
Question anywhere in our future?
Lieutenant Cathy, I have to ask you to state your question.
I'm wondering why Santiago wasn't packed. Tell you what, we'll get back to that one in a minute. This is a record of all phone calls made from your base in the past 24 hours after being subpoenaed to Washington. You made 3 calls. I highlighted those calls in yellow. Do you recognize those numbers, sir?
I called Colonel Fitzhughes in Quantico, Virginia. I wanted to let him know that I would be in town. The second call was to arrange a meeting with Congressman Richmond of the House Armed Services Committee. And the third call was to my sister, Elizabeth.
Why did you make that call, sir?
I thought she might like to have dinner tonight.
Your Honor, these are telephone records from Gitmo for September 6th. And these are 14 letters that Santiago wrote in 9 months, requesting, in fact, begging for a transfer. Upon hearing the news that he was finally getting his transfer, Santiago was so excited that, do you know how many people he called? 0. Nobody. Not one call to his family saying he was coming home. Not one call to a friend saying, can you pick me up at the airport? He was asleep in his bed at midnight, and according to you, he was getting on a plane in 6 hours. But everything he owned was hanging neatly in his closet and folded neatly in his footlocker. You were leaving for 1 day. You packed a bag and made 3 phone calls. Santiago was leaving for the rest of his life. And he hadn't called a soul. And he hadn't packed a thing. Can you explain that? The fact is, there was no transfer order. Santiago wasn't going anywhere. Isn't that right, Colonel? Colonel, is this funny, sir?
No, it's not. It's tragic.
Do you have an answer?
Absolutely. My answer is I don't have the first damn clue. Maybe he was an early riser and liked to pack in the morning. And maybe he didn't have any friends. I'm an educated man, but I'm afraid I can't speak intelligently about the travel habits of William Santiago. What I do know is that he was set to leave the base at 0600. Now, are these really the questions that I was called here to answer? Phone calls and foot lockers? Please tell me that you have something more, Lieutenant. These two Marines are on trial for their lives. Please tell me that their lawyer hasn't pinned their hopes to a phone bill. Do you have any other questions for me, Counselor?
Lieutenant Caffey. Lieutenant, do you have anything further for this witness?
Thanks, Danny. I love Washington.
Excuse me, I didn't dismiss you.
I beg your pardon?
I'm not through with my examination. Sit down.
Colonel,
What's that?
I'd appreciate if you would address me as Colonel or Sir. I believe I've earned it.